I'd like to set fire to this dump.
Just because we're pretty, everybody's jealous.
It's like a prison here. Even at Christmas, it's like a prison.
Don't even mention Christmas, Chicklet. My parents are going to be real sorry if I don't get them cha-cha heels. I asked and I better get.
I never get enough Christmas presents. Everybody's so damn cheap.
I should be getting a lot, and I'm going to take it all back and get the money for it. You can do that, you know.
We'll probably get caught for hooking this period, but who cares? Who cares if we fail? It'd be fun to be expelled.
I hope I get arrested. I hate this school and all these ignorant teachers who don't know one thing. I'm the one who should be teaching. I hate my parents, too.
Not on Christmas.
Not on Christmas, Pete.
Oh, man. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
I hope you are, because listeners, get your shit together. My name's Pete.
And I'm Scott, and these are the movies that made us gay. I'm pretty sure our guest today, welcome back to the show, Seth. I know that you are probably wanting cha-cha heels for Christmas. Jerk of all trades, welcome back.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be back.
Last on the show for Welcome to the Dollhouse.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Good to have you back for this holiday season for a very important movie for the podcast that we have been deliberately holding for years now at this point. But it was fate. Seth, you got here for the Female Trouble episode, directed by John Waters. I mean, composed, photographed, co-edited, written, produced, and directed by one Mr. John Waters, released October 11th, 1974.
It's truly an honor to get to do this one.
So, I mean, this is one of the big ones, and the thing about doing the movie podcast is you do have to hold the big ones for later.
Yeah, I mean, well...
You have to hold some.
Yeah.
The time is now.
Yeah.
It's Christmas. I mean...
I've always known that I wanted to do this as a Christmas episode,
yeah, absolutely.
too.
You kind of have to.
You can do that, you know.
It's a great Christmas. All I'm saying is I better get them damn cha-cha. First of all, can we confirm what the hell a cha-cha heel actually is?
So
is it a dance shoe?
I always assumed that it was like a dance wedge for doing...
Not a wedge. A wedge is like the whole, like a wedge.
Like a dance heel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you confirm that?
Yes.
Yes. You being the expert on all
Do you
things.
own any cha-cha heels, Seth?
In my heyday, no, I always wore stripper shoes. If there wasn't at least a 6-inch heel,
Fair.
it wasn't for me.
Sure.
If I could walk in it, it wasn't appropriate.
And a cha-cha heel's a little shorter.
Yes.
Right.
So it's like a kitten heel, but like a slutty kitten heel.
Got it. It's for dancing.
It's a thing of the 60s and 70s.
Yes. So this is not our first John Waters film. This is our third?
Our second one this year.
Second one this year.
We did Drew Droege came over to watch Polyester in March.
Right. And previous to that, we had done
Hairspray
and
Serial Mom.
Okay.
So we're hitting the big ones now.
I mean, we're getting to the classics.
Yeah.
We're getting to the classics.
I mean, I feel like Female Trouble is the Gone with the Wind of John Waters' filmography. I mean, it's definitely like the best use of Divine.
Yeah, I mean, it's up there with Pink Flamingos. It's personally, as I've always said, it's my favorite one. Mm-hmm. I identify with this movie and the characters and the several different plot lines going on for years. But, you know, as soon as I discovered Pink Flamingos, I found this right after and was truly obsessed.
So let's start with your background with John Waters. Like, when do you guys, I mean, we've talked about our background with John Waters on our previous episode, but I definitely want to hear your origin story with John.
So, I mean, there's a lot to talk about here. Very similarly that I probably said about Greg Araki when we did Nowhere, I'd say that, like, I truly discovered his, like, collection probably around 7 or 18. I love looking back because I remember the first movie of his I ever saw, which many kids would be Hairspray, the original, which I was in like 7th grade. I remember I was doing some sort of marathon fundraising thing, and like a friend who lived in the suburbs where it was like a 24-hour marathon in a field, and you just like walked around a track to raise money or some shit.
Okay.
But at like 3 o'clock, and everybody had tents and you'd take naps in between your turns. But at like 3 o'clock in the morning, I went to like get food or a drink. And they had this big projector outside in the field, and, you know, kids are watching movies, and all I see is Pia Isadora scene, I think that's her name, where she just opens her arms real wide and says, "Let's get naked and smoke."
Yep.
And that was my introduction to John Waters.
Yeah.
But then I would discover, like, the real gems of his career.
And just finding them on home video and just watching them and becoming obsessed.
Yeah, I think this was, you know, this is probably early 2000s when I think like a lot of the DVD box sets had just started coming out with like all the films. Yeah. And this was like early Netflix days. So like you could find them, but you'd have to wait 2 weeks for them to show up in the mail.
And I don't even know what the circulation of Female Trouble at that time with DVDs was. I mean, I'm sure that there was something in print, but I mean, for Netflix, they could probably only have like 5 copies, so you might just have to wait for it.
I think it was a matter of that, but then I was just finding like alternative video stores that sold these things.
Yeah.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I need to have. I have every
there are
film
ways to get a
of
hold
his
of them.
on digital.
I talk about that my first John Waters movie was Cecil B. Demented because it was the new John Waters movie.
That's right.
So I knew him just by name, and that was the one that showed up at our video store that I could rent.
I remember seeing the cover for that for so many years, not realizing what it was, pre-discovering John's work, but, you know, because that was also probably late 90s, 97, 98, something like that.
2000.
Okay.
Yep.
A little later, but I just remember the poster, and then it wasn't until years later, because I'd say that's one of his more underrated films, probably,
Yeah,
and less
agreed.
recognized.
I think I have a soft spot for it just because it was that was the first for me.
Yeah.
And Melanie.
And Mel.
The which, by the way, Melanie Griffith will be the special counselor at John Waters Camp this summer.
Oh my God!
Which I just agreed
Camp
to.
counselor Melanie.
So I will get to meet her summer of or whenever it happens in
Yeah.
2024.
I think it's usually like
September.
spring. Or no, it's summer.
It is summer.
Okay,
I was supposed
sure.
to go this past
You were
year, and
supposed
then
to
I got
go.
COVID the week of
shit.
and had to cancel.
Oh, shit. Wow. Neither of us have done John Waters Camp, but
It sounds like so much fun.
I remember Hairspray when it was first released, being a kid, and my sister getting it on home video. I've told this story in our Hairspray episode and probably in our Serial Mom episode, but just as a young kid seeing Hairspray and then seeing Crybaby right after that, and just kind of getting this, having this vague kind of idea of John Waters as being kind of like these movies, almost being like these spoof movies, almost in a like an Airplane, Abrams Zucker kind of scary movie kind of a vibe for some, you know, in some instances, but then kind of understanding that like the satire of them, and then my sister really being like, well, you know, his early movies were wild. I'm like, okay, tell me. And just hearing like the legends of like, you know, Pink Flamingos and like all of this stuff. And I don't think we were ever able to, because when we would rent movies with my dad, it was always Blockbuster. So we weren't able to get Pink Flamingos. And so I didn't really see that until I was probably out on my own in my 20s. And then I was like, okay, this is great. But at that point I had, you know, Cecil B. Demented was out, bought it, and I kind of fell in love with John Waters like as a person.
Yes.
Commentary tracks and just like what a great storyteller
I would
he
always
is.
like whenever you would see him interviewed. I remember there was a special on The Wizard of Oz from like the mid 2000s that he has really fun interviews for. One of them is, it used to be in the Wizard of Oz exhibit at the Academy Museum. It was like on the wall.
I'm the only child in the audience that always wondered why Dorothy ever wanted to go back to Kansas. Why would she want to go back to Kansas in this dreary black and white farm with an aunt who dressed badly and seemed mean to me when she could live with magic shoes, winged monkeys, and gay lions? I never understood it.
You don't want to go back to dirty Kansas.
Drab, sepia-colored
But yeah,
Kansas.
I remember that was like on one of the walls at the Academy Museum, which I thought was pretty cool. And I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that special in that interview.
Right. There was always something that I loved about his 80s and 90s movies where, you know, even as a kid, I knew who Tracy Lords was, right? So we see Crybaby, and it's like, and there she is, this disgraced actress. She was, got into all this trouble for being like an underage actor in adult films, and just the scandal, and him bringing her in, and me thinking, she's good in this.
Yeah.
She's good. She's funny. She's like, has presence on screen. Like, why didn't she know the movies?
Beautiful
and then,
in that movie too.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, and Ricky Lake, obviously, and just giving a career to this girl who probably would not have gotten a chance in other normal, straight, quote unquote movies. And then seeing things like understanding who Patty Hearst was, and just kind of getting an idea for this way of bringing in people into his casts, and then starting to see them in multiple movies and being like, okay, he has this troupe of people. And then really kind of learning as I went about the Dreamlanders, and not knowing before I knew what Dreamland was, just understanding that it exists by seeing these casts that kept growing and growing, and bringing people back, and having these subversive people, like a Patty Hearst and a Tracy Lords, and and characters like Hatchet Face, and I can't remember the name of the woman who is Crybaby's mother with Johnny Depp. That actress, and she's also in Big Top Pee-wee, and then it just starts to inform me of like this kind of underground, very kind of punk rock alternative style of filmmaking with these casts, and I was just like, okay, if these people are kind of cross involved with like Pee-wee in that world, then I get it. Then I get what kind of kooky, off kilter kind of universe this is all existing in. And when I finally did start to see Divine like at her height in this and in Pink Flamingos, I was like, oh my God, I get it now. I do have to say, this movie, Female Trouble, it's crazy.
It's a journey.
It's a journey.
This movie is a journey.
It is a long, from A to Z.
It's an epic.
But there are some things in here, and I think John Waters has kind of addressed some of them. This movie is dedicated to Charles Watson.
Yeah, wild.
John Waters had kind of this morbid obsession with the whole Manson family,
The Manson crew.
But there's also other serial killers name dropped in there. There are things in this movie that kind of make you feel a little weird when you're watching them. You don't want to see people shooting a gun into a crowded theater, things like that. You have to kind of sit back and say, it's 1974. This is subversive on purpose. Obviously, John Waters is not doing this in a movie today if he were to make a film today. So I think right at the top of this show, we do have to say, trigger warning.
As I was parking my car, I literally was thinking about some of the things that get said in it, and I was like, I feel like he's truly the one person that can't get canceled for anything.
Oh, totally.
If it hasn't happened.
Like, he gets a pass somehow from everybody,
Yeah.
and I respect that decision, but yes, trigger warning all over.
all over the place. I feel like maybe if some like Gen Z kid probably got a hold of this, they might try to cancel him. Just be like, look what I discovered. This is awful. But I don't know if it would stick.
I mean, he always says in interviews that Desperate Living originally was like boycotted by, it was either, I forget exactly, it was just boycotted by a lot of the queer community, and now it's like shown during like different dyke organizations as like, and trans organizations as like a proud piece of art.
Right. Yeah. That's another one that like, I remember the first time I saw that one, I was in my early 20s and I was like, this shit is wild.
I hadn't seen Desperate Living until like 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Until it was finally on streaming. If it was like wasn't available for the longest time.
I feel like I came to Female Trouble a little later. I mean, I don't think that I watched this movie until probably about 10 years ago. I had always heard about this movie, and I'd always heard that everybody talks about Pink Flamingos, but it's really all about Female Trouble as the best use of Divine.
Yes.
So I remember we bought a copy off Amazon of Female Trouble, and we lost it.
We did.
It was a double pack. Do you remember what was? I mean, it was just Pink Flamingos with it, right?
Pink Flamingos we have separately.
Yeah.
Because we have its own one. So I think it might have been It's not Hairspray.
I know
the
what it
double of
was.
Hairspray is Pecker.
Because we still have that one, but we lost that copy of it.
Maybe it just was Pink Flamingos.
I think it was just Pink Flamingos, and it just had 2.
Yeah.
But I somehow lost that disc.
I think it was a situation that we loaned it to someone and never got it back.
Sure.
I think it was one of those.
But it's okay because there is a brand new, beautiful print of Female
That's
Trouble.
right.
The Criterion.
Yeah.
That I now have. So
to segue into the exhibit at the Academy, which I'm assuming is where that came from.
We just ordered it.
we just ordered it.
Yeah.
We
Bought
have
it
yet
online.
to go to the exhibit. I can't wait.
I've been 4 times already.
Oh, I love that.
I learned that if you have food stamps in Los Angeles, you can get into any
Museums?
museum for free.
Oh,
and so
word.
every
Take your EBT card.
You can get into the Academy Museum.
Yeah,
oh, that's
and
so cool. I love
every
that.
time I've had a
Yeah.
friend visit since it opened, like from out of town, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm taking you to the John Waters exhibit, and we're not paying for it. The government is.
Oh.
do you just
my
like?
God.
Do you just show them
Yep,
like your card?
Show them your EBT
Okay,
card.
all right,
and
that's cool.
Yeah.
For once, being low income works in my favor.
Listen, you got to do what you got to do.
John Waters would be proud.
He would be absolutely very. He'd
John
be more
would
proud
love
if
that.
you snuck in. But
Yes,
I mean,
true.
but you're using that EBT card. You heard it here first, listeners. Yeah, you can get it. Yeah, pretty much any museum, I think.
Yeah,
Cool.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be free day. It could
Yeah.
just be like any day. Yeah. Does Academy Museum participate in free museum Tuesdays?
I don't know if it's Tuesdays, but I know I showed up once and tried to do that, and they were like, "Well, it's free day anyway."
Ah.
So I was like, "Oh, okay,
They're like savior points or
yeah,
whatever.
we get it. You get food stamps."
Oh my God! See, and that's the thing. It's like seeing, like us saying, John would be proud of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Watching things like Pecker and having and going out and buying, these DVDs and listening to those commentaries. That's also where I kind of learned about the older ones that I didn't get a chance to
I
watch.
prefer
because
to
he
watch
talks-
them with the commentary just because
Yeah.
I love listening to John talk.
telling stories about shopping for others. What is it? Grocery shopping for others.
Shopping
And,
for
like,
others? Yeah.
And like ditching on paying for taxi cabs and like all that kind of stuff. You're just like, this shit is wild. This life that they led in Baltimore, in the 60s as like crazy weirdo like punk hippie kids.
John would resent you saying hippie.
I don't know though.
He said they always made he said they always made fun of the hippies.
Writing a book, hippie. We'll get to that line later.
Oh my God.
Kind of a segue into what I was going to say earlier was that, these movies were also like a very eye-opening part of seeing the different walks of queer life. Because the reality is like, you watch these if you're young or living in the Midwest and you're just like, oh, all these acid dropping punk weirdos. But like, seeing trans folks and women of color and, lesbians, gays, all of the above. And looking back, it's like, yeah, this is what our lives are like now in a sense, with the community at least.
Yeah.
Not everybody's, drag queen eating dog shit, but it's exciting because he was putting these people on screens in film back in the 70s.
The type of people that were never represented in movies. I mean, had cinema ever really seen anybody like Edith?
Right.
Ever?
Nope.
Yeah. Somebody like Gator.
My friend just had a baby and they named her Edith, and I was like, oh, you just wait. As that kid gets older, I'm going to be calling her Edie.
Oh, Edie. I mean, I remember the first time I kind of was introduced to Edie. It was Pink Flamingos. And just like the egg lady, and it was nothing. It was. I had never seen anything like that before. I'd never
She was the
seen
first voice
this
that
woman
is ever heard on our podcast. In our
She
intro,
was,
in our intro to movies that made us gay, it is the clip from Female Trouble.
Yeah, Gator and Anna
I wish.
Ida.
Yeah. Yep.
I can't. Those two, and in particular, Gator. That was also the first time I'd ever been introduced to that heavy of a Baltimore accent.
The auto industry.
The auto industry.
I mean, my favorite example of the Baltimore accent is Don Davenport's eating a meatball sandwich.
Right in the middle of class. I think that you might mean...
Mr. Weinberger, Dawn Davenport is eating a meatball sandwich right out in class. And she's been passing notes.
I was not eating.
I got a knife here in my pocketbook, and I'm going to cut you up after class.
Passing notes.
Pacing notes.
I used to like to make that knife threat to people from time to time, just whisper it in their ear.
I got a knife in my pocketbook.
I'm going to cut you out.
The idea of these 3 asshole girls
Terrorizing the school.
just a
Ruling
bad
the
girl.
school.
Just a bad girl. I love a bad girl. I love a bad girl who's like a bully,
Yep.
who like bullies boys, doesn't even care. Just a bad girl. Like,
Doesn't give a shit.
oh my god! And these 3, they're on the cover of the poster. These hairstyles. It's like unreal.
Conchetta and Chiclet.
Chiclet and Concetta.
Concetta.
Chiclet and Concetta are so amazing.
Cookie Mueller and Susan Walsh.
So before I really knew the plethora that was Cookie Mueller's
Yes.
life, she always in his movies was my favorite woman. Like every character she's played, the inflections of her voice, the way her mouth even looks, because I think she had a lisp.
Yeah, she had this-
She just talked like such a cunty attitude. And this one especially with the winged eyeliner and the huge hair.
and white lipstick.
And the white lipstick.
Aquanetting that hair.
And just like I said, that attitude moment where she goes, you can do that,
Oh my god!
I'm gonna get
That
the
is
money.
My favorite. I'm expecting a lot of presents. I'm going to take them all back and get the money. You can do that.
You know.
Oh shit! I laugh every time.
Yep.
And
That scene kills me.
yeah,
I love it.
And that is Concetta, one of the friends, played by Cookie Mueller. And did you read her book?
Which one?
Oh, okay. I thought you know she had multiples. Okay.
There's several.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say she had a
Edgewise is-
memoir, and
yeah.
she kind of had a rough
Oh, yeah.
go of it, right?
I mean, she died of AIDS
Yeah.
in the 80s.
She died in 89.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, at the very top of the commentary track for this movie, it's the credits. And, these early John Waters movies are famous for having these long credits. Full. You look at these movies and it looks like 2 people were on crew, but it's like these
I love the credit plates in this movie.
75 actors.
I think they're so cool.
and John says, half these people are dead.
Yeah.
I mean, Grant, it was 74.
Yeah.
50 years ago?
Yeah.
Not even 50 years ago. So it's like, okay, yeah, some people, passed on. But, Cookie died of AIDS. David Lockery, who's in this,
Yes.
and in Pink Flamingos, died of a drug overdose.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. An accidental drug overdose. So there's a lot of them. I mean, it was a very kind of... I don't know. I think the crowd was not a rough living crowd or anything, but drugs may have been involved with some of them.
Life catches up.
They were free-spirited
They were
individuals.
Yeah, and there were a lot of queer people in this whole crowd in the Dreamlanders, and this was they all who some of them may not have made it through the AIDS epidemic, like that kind of probably got a hold of a lot of people involved there. But I thought that was very kind of telling when he was like, yeah, half of these people aren't around anymore. It's just like, oh my goodness. But yeah, Cookie Mueller as Concetta in this performance is wild. She looks insane. There's they do these montages through Dawn Davenport's life, and the montage of them hustling on the street.
Well, there's Dawn Davenport, career girl, 61 through 67, and then there's my personal favorite, early criminal, 1968. I love their burglar outfits.
The cat burglars.
The
cat burglar outfits
are great with the veils.
with the veils.
Yeah, but when they're hooking on the street,
That purple outfit on
that
Divine.
purple onesie. Oh,
The ass cutouts. Right?
Yeah. Concetta has a purple
Yes.
cat suit
Yep.
with ass cutouts like Prince.
Yep.
And it's like, this is 1974. I feel like people were like,
Pre-Prince.
what the fuck is this that she's wearing?
So I actually have 3 female trouble tattoos.
Okay.
And 2 of which are Cookie and
Oh.
Concetta. They were 2 that I was like, they need to be in this sleeve.
Yeah.
You can't, I mean, they're old and faded, but it's actually from the scene towards the end of the movie where they're just drawing lipstick all over
Right.
their faces. That's Susan Walsh. And then Cookie is from the hospital scene where she's got those big rose tinted glasses and a green sequin outfit.
Yeah.
And then we have Aunt Ida on my inner bicep, which is the second one. But this truly is my favorite of his movies.
Yeah. Like you guys were saying, it's his grand opus.
It's his Gone with the Wind. I think that the school scenes are some of the best John Waters scenes from a movie ever. Like, I think that they're so fucking hilarious. All of the school stuff.
And it's all of like the first 3 minutes of the movie. That's with the 3 girls in the bathroom. That was actually me in high school. I would go sneak into the girls' bathroom with girlfriends of mine and just smoke in the stalls, like cut class for an entire period.
I hate this school.
And we just smoke cigarettes.
Hooking.
Yep.
I love those kind of old timey things that they say, talking about hooking school and all that. Just like, who says that? No, yeah, but that's so great about these 3 characters that it's like, okay, it starts off and it's like, yeah, they're bad girls. Maybe Don Davenport is eating a meatball sandwich in the middle of class, and maybe they're hooking and talking about how they want the school to catch on fire and all that. But like, we find out right quick that Don Davenport puts her fucking money where her mouth is. Like, she is this girl. Like, she's not just like, she's not fronting for anybody, because immediately she runs away from home Christmas morning and never looks back. And this movie just, I mean, it was already off the
what
rails.
this movie would have been if she got the shoes.
Right? I mean, I'm sure that Dawn would have found this path eventually, but just in a very different way.
I mean, that scene is truly the only thing that makes this a Christmas movie. Like, the first 4 minutes where they talk about Christmas is coming, I want this present, Christmas goes wrong, and then the rest of the movie is what it is.
And just what a great John Waters image of this older woman underneath a Christmas tree. Like, it's such a sad, disturbing image that he says that he heard that as a story once, that a Christmas tree fell on someone's grandmother, and it just kind of was burned into his memory, and he had to write it in a movie script.
I mean, it's a classic scene.
I was actually, while doing a little bit of research today and rewatching the movie, so when I was 22, I had a little weekday solo night that I used to DJ, and it was called Nice Girls Don't Wear Cha-Cha Heels. And I think I found some of the old flyers to show you guys, but the first one I did was right around Christmas, and I just used the image of Dawn throwing her down under the tree. And it was just like this very busy flyer I made with that image, the whole thing saying Nice Girls Don't Wear Cha-Cha Heels, and then every type of music I was going to play, the fact that it was free, PBRs, but it was like way too much information. But that little night was like something I did for a year, but it was just such a mouthful.
Yeah.
To say like, yeah, I'm going to Nice Girls Don't Wear Cha-Cha Heels tonight.
Oh, did you get the flyer? Are you going to Nice Girls Don't Wear Cha-Cha Heels?
Nice girls don't wear cha-cha heels.
And it stands in everybody's
See there?
Yeah. It's so funny that line has just become like, I said I wanted Cha-Cha Heels.
Black one.
I feel like every Christmas day I see this scene on some social media account.
Yeah.
I see it on Facebook, Instagram. Somebody will always post it.
I think it was the first time I ever did drag or like performed in drag. It was for like a friend's benefit thing around Christmas, and I decided to do like Santa Baby. But I did a whole intro with the scene where I got like my unofficial drag mommy to like put on a muumuu and hold this present that I wrapped up, and we like interacted and did the whole scene. I threw her to the ground, and then it went into Santa Baby.
I love that.
Yeah.
Is there any video of that anywhere?
No, it was a little too early.
They didn't have the hand crank camera.
Yeah, because I'm so old.
I know you.
It's like 2014.
Oh my god.
Ooh. What are these?
Those are your new shoes, Dawn.
Those aren't the right kind. I told you cha-cha heel black ones.
Nice girls don't wear cha-cha heels.
Give me those presents. I'll never wear those ugly shoes. I told you the kind I wanted. You ruined my present. you, fuck you, fuck you, both you awful people. You're not my parents. I hate you, I hate this house, I hate Christmas.
Not on Christmas.
That shot of her mom under the tree of Not on Christmas.
We were recently on another podcast called How Do You Drew? Shout out How Do You Drew podcast. It's a Drew Barrymore enthusiast
Yeah, I saw you guys
podcast.
posting about that.
And that we watched the Drew Barrymore Amy Fisher story. And it was wild. I mean, as you would imagine, a 1993, 94 made-for-television movie about Amy Fisher starring Drew Barrymore would be. And there are scenes of Drew as Amy Fisher interacting with her parents on Long Island, and we were like, is she going to throw her dad into the tree?
It's female trouble.
It was female. It was like the director was like, is he trolling us right now? They were doing it straight, though. They were doing it like, seriously, this is a serious fight that Amy Fisher's having with her father. And he's like, I need my heart pills. And she throws them at him. She's, here are your pills. And she throws this bottle at him. And she like runs out the door and slams it. And we were just like, is this shit for real?
I feel like Dawn Davenport would probably shoot Mary Buttafuoco also.
Absolutely.
And take care of the
Dawn
job.
Davenport, if Dawn Davenport would have gone up to Mary Jo Buttafuoco's door, she would have been dead.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It wouldn't have been any of this like ricochet nonsense. And she would have got the job done. But that Amy Fisher story is wild, by the way. How Amy Fisher herself has not been featured in a John Waters movie, I'll never know.
Yeah, that is the type of casting that he would do.
It would absolutely make sense.
Yeah.
It's like between Patty Hearst and
Yeah.
Heidi Fleiss and Heidi Fleiss. No, that was Greg Araki.
Yeah.
Similarly enough.
Absolutely, yeah. In the same wheelhouse. Scott, you said you got the title cards for each time Dawn kind of went through.
Yeah,
a new era in
Dawn
life.
Davenport, Youth, 1960. That's what the opening scenes are. Dawn Davenport, Career Girl, 1961 through 1967.
Is that when she's serving pie?
Yep. and she's dancing.
And that smug face. She just throws that slice of pie down and
Oh my God.
snarls at that
She's
guy.
so mad for like having to serve. She just grabs it from that thing and throws it. And then I'm thinking too, like, okay, this is this diner, and it's this little like sliding door, and it's just all these plates with a slice of pie on these plates, and I'm like, how long are those slices of pie been sitting there? And I'm like, people talk about like the good old days and all that shit. I'm like, I don't think that pie is very fresh.
The food poisoning days.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. I feel like eating out at a restaurant in like the 60s and the 70s might have been a little
sad,
sketchy,
dangerous.
Yeah.
All of the scenes where they're hookers, it is shot on the block in Baltimore, which is a famous sort of hooker street.
Okay. Okay. We love a famous hooker street.
But yeah, Dawn Davenport, early criminal. Some of my favorite scenes of them running around, mugging people.
Yeah. So I didn't really put two and two together of their like that veil situation that they had
because they don't want to mess up their hair.
Right. I hadn't thought about it because I was just like, what is going on? They're giving Jasmine Masters at the Holiday special with just like a gauze shopping bag.
But yeah, in theory, yeah, it's like kind of when you see images of women from back then going to sleep, they'd wrap their hair up in just these big towels. Or
Dawn wakes up on Christmas morning with some.
That's right.
With like kind
toilet
of
paper.
TP, like wrapping her hair.
Yeah, it's very Thelma Harper. You get your hair set, and you're not going to go and get it set like every day, so you have to like just
maintain it.
Yeah. You wrap it in toilet paper with some clips and hope to hell
get a nice wash and set.
Yeah. $100 for a wash and set. I won't pay
that. I learned a lot about it.
I mean,
right?
I mean, you know what's funny about the $100 wash and set? I mean,
oh God, that's just nothing now.
When you go out and get your haircut in LA for just a simple boy's haircut, that shit can run you $8.
Yeah,
of just a basic haircut.
Got to get yourself the supercuts, man. You're going to the fancy places.
I mean, I barely have any hair left. I just go to like the little barber shop in Koreatown. It's like $19.
There you go.
I love all of the
shortcut.
scenes in the hair salon. We got to set up the hair salon and the introduction of Gator. Also, Susan Lowe, who is working as the receptionist
I
for
knew we were gonna go
the
into
hair salon, is the mother of Dawn's baby.
It's
And you
true.
see that she's pregnant behind the desk when she's kind of checking people in for their hair appointments, and that is the baby that Dawn gives birth to.
Newborn
And
Taffy.
bites
Newborn Taffy.
the umbilical cord off.
Oh my god.
Which also, like, obviously we've heard about this in different interviews. Like, you look at that scene, and even what he said, that baby was like days
That
old.
baby
Oh,
was
that
fresh.
baby is brand new.
Yeah.
Fresh.
Like
That
maybe
thing was small.
Maybe
it
was
still
born.
purple.
Maybe
Yeah.
was born that afternoon, and they
Yeah.
rushed it over.
It was like skinny, didn't even have like baby fat, just like little teeny.
Let's just slab
Fresh,
some
yeah.
red
Yeah.
liquid on top
Whatever.
of this infant. It's crying because it's a day old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So before
yeah.
we set up the hair salon
Okay,
scene,
okay.
we got to talk about
Oh, yeah.
Dawn meeting the baby daddy,
Sure. Earl. Also played.
also
By
played by
Divine.
Divine.
And this is not the. Well, I guess it would be the first time it was done because it was done later on in Hairspray, right? Did Divine play
Yes.
the mayor or
Yes.
something?
Played the owner of the TV station. I think.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah. So, immediately when Dawn runs away, she hitchhikes and gets picked up by Earl. I forget his last name, but he's driving.
Peterson?
That sounds right.
I just watched it.
Yeah, right. He's driving an Edsel, which, if you're not familiar, was a car brand that was kind of short-lived, and they were a little controversial. They were just a kind of a dud car brand. Like, people didn't buy Edsels. Like, they were just kind of like...
They broke down a lot.
I get, yeah, or just they just weren't very popular. So for him to be driving an Edsel in '74 was just like, what the fuck is this car? Like, this was already a piece of shit. This huge station wagon. This car's a fucking boat that he pulls up in. They go and have sex in the dump.
I love how this scene is cut because there is Boy Divine and then there's Divine stand-in.
Yeah.
And I just love the back and forth of how that scene is cut.
Yep.
See, when it cuts to Divine or Dawn stealing his wallet.
She's also the overdubbing of the screaming and
Yeah,
the wailing.
yeah.
Like her mouth is not moving,
No,
but you
yeah.
hear it as she's stealing the wallet.
Yeah. It very much feels like vintage porn.
Yeah.
When it's all because it's all shot on silent cameras, and then that's why they would go in and dub them. Like it's cheaper that way. So you shoot on a camera with no sound, and then later on the actors go in and they dub it over. And so in those old, if you watch real vintage porn that looks like a family home movie, it's like that. The moaning and all of that does not match what's going on. And yeah, there's like crazy like slurping sounds.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so over the top. It's eat it. Oh my god. And that divine voice that like
That gets used later in another sex scene.
Oh.
Unless we're getting our sex scenes mixed up. But I think it happens in both.
Oh, okay.
The scenes after, I love Divine's on the run look. I think that she looks so beautiful.
That
With
is
that
a
scarf.
classic.
Mm-hmm.
And that image of her, like, I think does not get used enough. But I actually have, like, I found a t-shirt years ago with that. And I couldn't get rid of it, so I sewed it as like a back patch on like a denim vest that I still
nice.
have. That's too small for me, but I won't get rid of it because it's just got those curlers
Yeah.
and the head wrap. And there's also images of her with like sunglasses with that on, but also without them. And just something about her makeup it's also like the cleanest her makeup has
It
ever
is,
been.
yeah.
It's just a simple black liquid eyeliner wingtip
Yeah.
and her brows.
And that's the thing about Divine in this movie is that, I mean, you can kind of say the same for Female Trouble just because it's such an iconic look. I think that there's some very beautiful shots of Divine in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
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 That you can just see like the star quality. But yeah, we can get to those later. But I love when she's calling him on the payphone. I love that scene.
You stole my wallet, you fat bitch.
This is Dawn Davenport. I'm pregnant and I want money now.
But that's Dawn. That's that character. Just like, give me money.
You know what? Okay, this is something I've probably never talked to anybody, but that scene in particular, I'm always like, what is this set? Because she gives birth in what looks like a couch in a hallway.
At the bottom of a staircase?
Yeah, in like an apartment building.
It reminds me of the house from Pink Flamingos. But it's not the same space, but you kind of get that balance, that like banister.
It reminds me of like a old Brooklyn apartment building where like, you got these wooden banisters that go up like 3 floors.
Very narrow.
But then just a couch in the middle of it covered in newspapers,
Right.
and she gives birth.
Yeah, because it also said she walked into a hotel.
Oh.
And I'm like, but
So maybe it's a cheap,
the
shitty like
staircase?
SRO.
Yeah.
it's almost as if they just needed any space to shoot in.
Sure, it was somebody's house.
Whose house or apartment is free right now that we can get the Dawn childbirth
Well,
scenes?
so that kind of speaks to like in these early movies, John just kind of not really knowing what he was doing as a filmmaker.
Guerrilla
filmmaking and just going out and stealing shots in public. He said the diner where she served the pie, that the diner was open, that the people in that shot are customers.
They just ran in and got the
she
shots.
just like he just go get the pie, put it on the counter. And the guy, if you look at the guy, he's just kind of like, what is going on? He's kind of laughing. He's kind of like, okay. So there's that guerrilla filmmaking aspect, but then there's also, and he talks about it in the school scene of like crossing the line. Their eye lines don't match at all. The teacher's looking one way, the student's answering and looking the other way. Dawn's behind her and looking that way, and it's confusing. As now, they do these things with the line in filmmaking, and it's all fake, but it's there for us as the audience to kind of gauge what people are looking at. Mm-hmm. But when you don't do it, is when you notice it, and then things like Divine's very first scene in Pink Flamingos. She's talking for like over 30 seconds, and it's the back of her head. And you're like, I wish I could see what she looks like. Like it's her intro. Her intro is when she walks in, her back,
right,
sits down, talking to Edna, 30 seconds for Edie, talking to Edie for 30 seconds, the back of her head.
Yep.
I'm like, come on, show me your face. Turn the camera. But a lot of times he couldn't turn the camera around. He couldn't get coverage because it is guerrilla. These are not sets. These are locations. These are just somebody's apartment, somebody's trailer or whatever that they're shooting in. So it's like sometimes you see these older movies and you're like, this looks like garbage. But it just adds to the charm. and it brings up these questions of where the fuck is she having this baby? Yeah. Who knows? Little baby Taffy. I feel so sorry for little Taffy.
Little Taffy.
What a life she lived. With Dawn Davenport as your mother.
Chicklin and Concetta as your adopted aunties.
Yeah.
Jokes about,
they didn't even like her.
Jokes about child abuse.
Oh, yeah.
About beating your kid.
I hit her with a car, Ariel. I just don't know what to do.
That is probably also like one of my favorite looks, and I did a screening of this in 2014 where I had to remake that pink dress, and it's just the pink.
Ooh, yeah.
Nightie with the black marabou all over it and hair curlers.
Love it.
We also, my co-partner at the time, dressed up as Taffy, and we just found like a piece of gold lame to wrap around as a dress, and put yellow streamers in his hair as he just jumped around like an idiot all night.
Is that the look that she's smoking and she just really looks like Elizabeth Taylor?
Yes,
I think that
she's angry.
She's so beautiful in that
angry
scene
smoking.
of just kind of how she's that like smolder of, or I guess that like.
I think the vibe is that she's just been sitting around all day, angry.
Just
her diet pill is wearing off.
Yeah. Divine had a very specific way of drawing in her lip, especially in those scenes. Her Cupid's bow is very pointy.
Yes.
And then her top lip kind of was like separated. It would like kind of went up a little bit, but it just made her mouth kind of look just this pouty little look. And yeah, absolutely.
That was all Van Smith.
Oh, was it Van? Oh, who did her face? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's very specific to these scenes, but yeah, the eyebrow and just that like that pouty look. She's just sitting there, just stewing in her own juices the whole time. Okay, so I do want to talk about Gator because so I feel like there's a thread in not every John Waters movie, but a lot where there's this type, right? It starts with Crackers.
Yep.
Right. And then I think he said that he wanted to get the actor who was Crackers for Gator, and something happened. It didn't happen, so we got a different actor for Gator.
Probably
in
just
this
picked
movie.
up Michael Potter off the street and just said, "Do you want to be in a movie?"
Yeah. But that
Yeah.
hair length, that specific hair length, that dead tooth, that
I mean, it's not far off from what John looked like back in
you
the
know,
day.
you know what I mean? And the outfits that they had Gator wear, like these tuxedo jackets.
I think John's described that was the type of boys he was into
Yeah.
at the time.
Yeah.
I can kind of get it.
See why.
There's certain
I
shots
mean,
of Gator that I'm
shit.
just like, is Gator cute?
Yes.
Like, I can't really tell. I mean, we can talk later about Donald, David Lockery, that I think he's fucking sexy.
Okay.
Yeah.
We love David Locker. No, but I think this type, like I said, starting with Crackers, with Gator, Michael Shannon and Cecil B. Demented, also along those lines of this character, this tall, thin, kind of wiry,
Brown hair.
long,
tooth.
straight hair, a dead tooth somewhere, and just I don't know, maybe not necessarily the sharpest knife, but he's
Hillbilly hottie.
yeah, very hillbilly, absolutely.
I mean, he's a working man. He's doing hair.
If he's doing,
class.
he worked his way through cosmetology school. He's you got to be
I
licensed.
mean, he's working at a pretty nice salon in Baltimore too.
Le Lipstick Beauty Salon.
I mean, well, if we have the other stylist to go,
I
off
love
of.
the other stylists too. I love the super flamboyant one.
Butterfly,
Butterfly.
Dribbles.
Dribbles, yeah.
Oof, Dribbles talks about some child
Dribbles,
abuse.
Dribbles is definitely trigger alert.
Yep.
alert. And then there's one more. He just gets turned on by beauty products. He was like, I love the smell
of conditioner on a freshly bleached hair.
Yeah. And Butterfly is the one that's just super flamboyant and always has
Who also has a dead tooth.
Yeah. And long hair, but he does it
in that scene. The hair is very similar to Susan Walsh's. There's a lot of weight up there.
Yeah.
Small spoiler alert, but one of the coolest things at the Academy exhibit right now is they have the sign from the Lipstick Beauty Salon, and they also have the wire or metal headboard or footboard from Donald and Donna and Donald Dasher's bedroom that has all these curly cues in it.
Sure.
But the Lipstick Beauty Salon sign is a real special piece.
All right. That's fucking cool. Okay, so Gator gets introduced because Chiclet and Concetta are the ones that are like, you just need to go get your hair done. There's this great new salon. You have to audition to be able to get.
I love the
appointment
showgirls
there.
audition scene. Yep. When Donald and Donna walk in.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is something about Donald's hair in this scene that when I do bleach out my hair and I can get it white, that is the bleach job that you are walking straight from getting your hair bleached. It is that white. And it will only stay like that maybe 2 days.
I didn't realize the irony that I actually bleached my hair this morning while I had this movie on, drinking coffee.
But yeah, there's just something of how white that hair is that I think it's super sexy.
Yeah.
The two of them have some amazing outfits on.
Great costumes in this movie.
The costumes are so cool. Some of the stuff that you see either of them wearing, you could see on Drag Race today.
Yeah.
And be a winning look.
Yeah.
He's got a coat that's got a human hair collar, and it's the same bleached color as his hair.
Yeah.
And his hair is longer in the movie, but in this opening scene of his, it's slicked down and parted, and so it looks like he's got short hair, and then his collar is lined with hair, and it just looks like you're just confused but intrigued. And
this long set of curls and wisps and
so good.
I also think Divine looks beautiful in this scene because she
And
kind
the
of
orange.
she
The
kind
orange.
of
The
gives
orange
me the hair and makeup kind of gives me Italian actress who's a muse to like a director.
Yeah. So does the attitude.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he has another outfit where it's like a jumpsuit and it's like a deep V and then there's feathers on it. Like it's a little circus, but it's still like really fucking cool. But so Gator is a stylist at the salon, and so that's how Dawn meets him. But he also lives next door with Aunt Ida.
Oh, Aunt Ida.
Aunt Ida.
Can't Donald just meet a cute boy? What does she say?
A nice Nelly boy.
I mean, I'll tell you what she says.
Have you met any nice boys in the salon?
Oh, pretty nice.
I mean, any nice queer boy. Do you fool with any of them?
Aunt Ida, you know I dig women.
Don't tell me that.
Christ, let's not go through this again.
All those beauticians and you don't have any boy dates?
I don't want any boy dates.
Oh, honey, I'd be so happy if you turned Nellie.
Ain't no way. I'm straight. I mean, I like a lot of queers, but I don't think they're equipment, you know? I like women.
But you could change. Queers are just better. I'd be so proud if you was a fag and had a nice beautician boyfriend. I'd never have to worry.
There ain't nothing to worry about.
I worried that you work in an office, have children, celebrate wedding anniversaries. The world of heterosexual is a sick and boring life.
I mean, words to live by.
Truly, probably one of the most iconic lines from this movie.
I mean, is it also probably the first pro-gay scene in movie history?
It might be.
Probably.
It's just so crazy. Like this woman has these like set of ideals. I love that. Just like I worry that you'll work in an office and celebrate wedding anniversaries. It's so good. I love
heterosexuality, the heteronormative lifestyle
we
that
love
most
Aunt Ida.
queers don't want to live by.
Seriously. And okay, so that's another thing that I think you kind of mentioned it earlier, like this idea of different types of like
lifestyles and people
within the gay community even. You know what I mean? Like not everybody wants to just be like, I don't know, like not everybody. When I was growing up and the depictions of gay people that we had, it was just like, okay, so I guess I have to like become a lawyer, have a really good straight female friend, and my flamboyant friends will just be kind of on the side. And then I'll have my own sitcom. I don't want to be Will and Grace. You know what I mean? Like,
on the other hand, the stereotype of all gays are hairdressers.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Or just like...
But at that time...
Yeah. Or just like the idea of like, I don't know, like Queer as Folk and like that kind of nightclub or whatever. It's like, I don't want to spend my life in that kind of... I'll be in a nightclub, but not that kind.
I mean, truly, I think the word queer can mean so many different things for so many different people.
Yes.
But in my late teens, early 20s, when I started identifying with the weird word queer, like the world of John Waters was essentially like, that's what being queer meant to me. It was like you weren't part of everyday gay life.
Yeah.
And you weren't just around white gay boys,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
We have to always give John credit for the diversity. Well, he could have, some things could have been better, but he definitely brought a lot of people to the screen that would not have acting opportunities otherwise.
Yeah, people on the fringes.
Yes.
But I think the idea of kind of finding your own, I think that's what scares off a lot of like younger, like gay people or like younger people kind of coming to terms with their sexuality and just being like, well, I see the most mainstream depictions of it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not what I want to be into. And it's like, well, there's so much more than just that, you know? There's like,
as John always says, I'm gay, but I hate most gay things.
You know what I mean? It's so, yeah. So that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
But I think it's important. Okay, so the big overarching idea in this movie that we start to get a hold of once we meet the Dashers, is this idea of crime and beauty.
Crime, beauty, and art, because Donald wants to capture it with the photograph.
Right.
The whole reason Dawn gets her in with the audition is her line is, "I'm a thief and a shit kicker, and I want to be famous."
Yeah.
Which is
another line that,
which is also a line that's really interesting because that line is so ahead of its time with just how
I want to be famous.
we as a society have kind of evolved.
This obsession with
I want to
fame.
be famous.
Yeah.
I mean, this is decades before stuff like reality TV.
Yep.
And just kind of being famous for the purpose of being famous.
And it's truly what the grand scheme of this movie is all about, is like, we'll do anything for fame.
Right.
Could you imagine Dawn Davenport if she had a social media account? Like, what kind of a monster that would create?
Taffy trolling her on the other end of it.
Well, I think something like a Natural Born Killers, where people just kind of praised it for this subversive idea that these people are doing such horrible things in the name of becoming famous and becoming legends and all that stuff. And it's like, well, Dawn did it first. Dawn was out there.
She wasn't portrayed as the best mother at any point in this movie, but as it goes on, she prioritizes fame over her own child.
And what's kind of interesting, I think that
feeding her.
I think that Drew touched on this on our polyester episode, is that for these crazy movies, there is a moral center with them.
Yeah.
That usually evil is punished in all of these films.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Because I think the big gag at the end of the day is you see Dawn's entire life.
Yeah.
And I think it's even in like the posters, like, watch Dawn get fried. Like, I think it's like part of like the marketing is of, not that there was marketing for this movie when it was released, but it's part of like, the advertising is just like, I think that like Dawn is going to get what's coming to her. And yeah, just the person that she turns into at the, skipping to the very end, those last scenes are like insane.
Oh,
They're
yeah,
kind of
it's harrowing.
Yeah, they're
It
kind
just
of
turns-
still
it
a
just
little
turns full-
bone-chilling to watch.
It just turns full helter-skelter.
Yeah, but just kind of seeing the origins of it here with with the Dashers and just what she's willing to do, and I mean, we already know she hates Taffy. This child was born like into a bad situation,
gaslighting her into thinking she's mentally handicapped.
Yes.
But we're going to use the PC term here.
I want to quote that scene, but I can't.
Yeah, but you can't.
We had you examined as a young child, and you were most certainly mentally handicapped? Question mark?
Yeah, we had you examined by a psychologist.
It's funny, Pete, you mentioned the marketing. There's a funny marketing story with this movie with the movie critic Rex Reed, who hated the movie to the point where in his review he asked, where do these people come from? Where do they go when the sun goes down? There isn't a law or something, and that was quoted on the poster for the premiere. Was that.
Love it.
Which is kind of like a great marketing pull.
I thought Rex Reed loved everything. Well, I mean, look at this poster right here. Sex offenses that would shock the Marquis de Sade. Come on. I mean, is that talking about the needle nose pliers or the entire raw carrot? You should have seen your face. The excessive nudity in this movie, by Gator alone.
Also, let's segue into the set design of that damn house.
What is going on in that house?
From the first images I ever saw of this movie, and it was of the three women laying in the bed.
Yeah.
With that crazy headboard.
It's a very Valley of the Dolls shot.
Very. They're all seductively laying on the bed with this weird, glittery, galactic
galaxy,
going on in the background. And see, that's the thing is, even talking about the end of the movie, it's such a colorful movie because of the scene, the costumes and the set design. But that bedroom, especially, it gets a lot of weird action.
Yeah. That whole weird galaxy paint job, I guess, along the wall that the bed is on is insane. But
the whole house looks like it's made of cardboard and it's about to fall apart at any minute.
Yeah,
especially the stairs.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like they built it on top of an existing house. They're just let's build another set in here to make it look like a house.
What's the town from Desperate Living called?
Mortville.
Mortville. It's a little Mortville. What would go on to be Mortville?
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, she eventually married Gator.
Yes. The wedding dress.
Iconic.
I'm still
Iconic.
I like that Gator gets married in a tiger print.
Tuxedo jacket.
And a tiger print tuxedo jacket.
Yeah.
It's like, who's making those like costume choice? I mean, we know who made those costume choices.
Yeah.
Van Smith. But that is just such a rock and roll, cool choice of what is Gator going to wear when he gets married. Let alone like how revealing Dawn's wedding dress is.
Her see-through.
Her see-through dress.
I think other than the dress, my favorite part of the wedding scene is Edith just beating up the priest at the end, and he straight up falls to the ground, down the stairs.
Yeah.
While she's just punching him.
Yeah.
They give Edith a lot of fun work to do in this movie. I love that shot of her dumping the trash over the fence.
Sticking out her tongue like a
Sticking
toddler.
out her tongue.
She's
when she
so excited to throw that trash.
When
over
she
the
steps out of her house and she puts her hands up in the air.
It's a brand new sunny day. I'm in my lace-up vinyl catsuit.
Yeah.
That every inch of flesh was pushing its way in between those laces. But again, another iconic look.
Yeah.
They have the shoes from that outfit in the exhibit.
Ooh, okay.
I should shut my mouth because I'm going to ruin the whole thing.
I know,
for you
right?
guys.
We're going to be like, ugh.
But there's a lot of fun stuff as far as props and costumes.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but I feel like a lot of these costumes, I'm sure they had to have been like
vintage poles.
Well, I mean,
I know
handmade,
that
hand painted.
for
I don't know.
for the cat suit look, I know that was made special.
The lace up.
The lace up look on Edith that was made special.
Dawn is wearing a blue cheetah asymmetrical dress with one sleeve that goes into a glove. Mm-hmm. This is not a vintage piece.
No. Yeah.
This is custom. This is couture. But it's like,
I mean, it's the first time that
where did they get blue cheetah?
It's true. Well, it's also on like gold lame.
Yeah.
It's all metallic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's wise that John was working with the budget for one of the first times of his career, and I think that's where a majority of it went. Was stuff like wardrobe.
Yeah. Costuming.
And costuming.
Yeah.
I have a lovely French movie poster with that image. It's kind of like an illustration of Divine in that outfit with the acid face.
Yeah.
And then, it's just set up very fun with all the wording is in French.
Oh, I love that. We should talk a little bit about Mink as older Taffy. 14.
So I noticed
for
something.
14, you don't look good.
She's got the face of an old woman.
Oh.
I noticed today, though, it's funny because this is the one movie that, like, I feel like I wouldn't recognize Mink Stole.
Right.
Like, granted, she was younger, but, like, when I see her as Connie Marble, like, I see Mink Stole. And when I go to Desperate Living, like, I see Mink Stole. This one was, I forget how old she was. I think she was, like, 19, maybe.
Wow.
Playing a 14. Mm-hmm. So that's why she had the old face, but...
Oh my god. But yeah, just in these like baby doll dresses and just this like fidgety kind of like she's always moving, she's always just like has her hands like on her clothes.
It's because she's always fearing she's going to be hit by her mother
with a chair.
The constant like shrieking as Dawn would move or playing her favorite game, which was Car Accident.
Oh my god, Car Accident is wild. And she's got like blue lipstick on.
Yeah, she's just like took crayons, drew all over her face, and started spraying ketchup everywhere.
Oh my god, that shit is wild. But yeah, she plays this role like it's funny when it needs to be funny.
Yeah.
When she's talking shit, writing a book, hippie.
Give me $10.
Go listen to some folk music.
Go listen to some folk music.
Yeah.
And give me a break.
And give me a break. Yeah, like, go listen to some folk music and give me a break.
She can turn on the comedy, but then she can really turn on the tragedy of this character too.
My God.
Yeah.
When she's like desperately just like, tell me who my father is. Tell me. And then when she finds out, you're just like, you don't want to know, lady. Okay, this is another thing. Where Dawn and Aunt Ida live. Aunt Ida, when she's walking down the street, like just like wallowing in the sun, the street between those houses and the row houses across it, it's not a street. Like, I don't think a car could fit down that. It's like a weird little walkway.
Yeah.
And we were saying, like, this is 74 when they shot this. And this neighborhood is, like, shot to hell. This is, like, not a nice place to live. When she goes to find Earl, it's like, what is this?
Where is this?
This is like an old witch, like, in the forest. Like, what? Where? This is like poverty-stricken.
It's kind of where she got pregnated.
Yeah. But you're just like, these exteriors, and she's walking, and she steps in like this puddle. And you're just like, is this even where people live?
Oh,
Like, is this a house? What the fuck? Yeah, so it's crazy how John found these locations in Baltimore that, I don't know, maybe where Ida and Dawn's houses are, that's probably still there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, who knows? Like, what the hell? Because have you seen that footage of him going out to where the camper from Pink Flamingos?
It's on the Criterion for Pink Flamingos.
Oh, wow. No,
It's a private residence now.
Oh, wow.
And they bought up all the lands around it. And it's huge. It's like a big green, like, it looks like a golf course.
Yeah.
It's just this big green field.
And they go out in the spot in the field where they're pretty sure that,
but they can't even tell
that the
because
trailer
it's like-
was, but they're not really sure.
Yeah,
They're like,
I guess
we
it was right
think
here.
that
Yeah.
it may have burned right here, but we're not sure.
And they go up to the house, and the people are there. It's like this mansion, and they're just like, "Yeah, we bought this land."
They seem super into
They
it,
seem
though.
very nice.
Yeah.
I think they knew. I think they knew that what was
back in the 70s. We burnt a trailer down right here.
And they set that bitch on fire. That would look scary.
Every time I watch Pink Flamingos or that scene, my favorite part is, and as you know, probably from any of the extras, how you can see Mink's jacket almost catch on fire as she's swinging the flame. It just like catches the bottom of the fur coat.
Yeah, that shit is crazy. But yeah, just some of these exterior locations are a little scary. But yeah, Mink in the scene where she does go to meet Earl, I'm just like, oh my god, this is so sad. And then she stabs the shit out.
Well, he showed her his penis and threw up on her.
Yeah. I love when he pukes on her. He's like, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm a little drunk. I also love that the knife just comes out of a random jar of mayonnaise sitting in the living room.
Yeah.
Which also makes me think of Idle Hands. The same thing.
Well, that's his bit of business that he's doing when he hears the door knock.
Yeah. He's making a sandwich.
Just in an easy chair. Just a huge jar of mayo. You know, when you live alone. The things you do.
I would never
Don't
do
tell
that.
people how I live. Yeah. Mink is great. I love that her threat, and ultimately she goes through with it, but her whole thing to like kind of, the thing that she knows will piss off Dawn the most is to become a Hare Krishna.
Yep. Well, as we were saying earlier, you know, like her addiction, Dawn's addiction to glamour, you know, took the forefront instead of Taffy, and it just was more tragic for her to be a neglected child.
Yeah.
But when you're mainlining liquid heroin or liquid eyeliner and eating makeup brushes.
Okay. When she's mainlining the liquid eyeliner, that needle is in her arm.
I was trying to figure that part out too.
Yeah.
Sure.
It is.
And then later on, there's like blood going down her arm. And I'm like, that kind of looked a little fake. It looked a little heavy. But I was like, that looks wild. Like, that looks fucking real.
Divine's the actor.
You know what I
that
mean?
would
Yeah.
be like, sure, put a needle in my arm.
Yeah. Scary.
I always think of my first dog when I was a kid was a Cocker Spaniel named Taffy. I always think of my dog Taffy.
I think
whenever I see Mink Stole in this movie, I always think of my first dog.
There's somebody else I know had one.
That's funny. All right, we got Mink Stole. Who have we not talked about yet?
Well, the relationship with the Dashers and how it, or just how it gets worse and worse and worse, and then finally we realize they're just taking advantage of her.
Yes.
Using her as a puppet.
Yeah.
For their own crime.
Yeah. This performance is. I'm always just like whenever you see something like this, I always think of like, so what are they there to see? They're there to see Dawn.
Yeah.
And Dawn is, you know.
I mean, I think it's
What
just,
are they?
I think it's just the chaos that surrounds Dawn's existence
So
that
they're-
they're
yeah.
just fascinated with.
Yeah.
They're because of their high class, upper echelon
They
lifestyles.
like Dawn as a novelty.
Yes, they like to see what the lower than people do.
So the audience members who paid a ticket to go see Dawn Davenport, they're like, we're just going to see her jump on a trampoline,
and this is post
rub fish on herself.
And this is post acid in the face too.
Yes, this is post acid in the face, and this is when she actually strangles Taffy to death in the dressing room.
Yeah,
and right before she does that, and she's like so mad at Taffy, and she's like tells her she's going to kill her and all this stuff. I don't remember if it's Dawn Dasher or if it's either
Dawn is like killer,
Chiclet or Concetta, but it's probably Dawn because she says, "Remember Alice Crimmins," and I was like, "What does that mean?" So I looked it up. Alice Crimmins was the Casey Anthony of the 60s. She murdered her children and was put on trial and sent to jail for murdering her 2 children. And so Dawn says, "Remember Alice Crimmins."
It would be like saying remember Casey Anthony.
Yeah.
This movie also introduced us to one Mr. Richard Speck. That we had. I mean, that is a reference that
that's a deep cut.
That's a deep cut.
Yeah.
You would have also had to have lived on the East Coast to have known who that was.
Yeah.
That and Serial Mom go through this laundry list of serial killers and people from that time, and it's so funny to hear him bring these real life stories into the movies.
I blew Richard Speck.
Speck.
But yeah, do a Google search on Richard Speck if you don't know who he is.
And so that's what I kind of meant at the top about trigger warnings, because like we said, there's things about like ableism and certain phrases that we don't really like talking about or can't really say in polite society anymore. But I think that John kind of had this fascination with, I guess just serial killers in general.
Just kind of people who lived on the edge of society.
Yeah.
And then would become these media sensations like the Manson family.
But I just think that in today's day and age, it's just, I don't know, just this shit is so rampant and so real and still going on that it's just I don't know. Obviously you can't talk about good taste when you're talking about Waters. Bad taste is right there in his on his business card, but it's so I'm trying to say it's distasteful to speak, and try and make it funny to talk about, or to show someone, shooting a gun.
Or even kind of when you think of Dawn shooting the gun in the audience, I have to put myself in the perspective of when they were making this, they were probably thinking, well, who's going to do that?
Right.
It's that's so ridiculous.
It's so far-fetched.
That's so far-fetched. It's never going to happen.
Yeah. So that's
from a different time.
Yeah. So that's why in 2023, it's okay, and that is so far beyond bad taste that you can't even, in good conscience, write that into a movie.
Absolutely.
So it's just, this is a product of its time. So there's no ill will from John Waters. It's not a comment on anything. I'm sure it was a comment on something, but it's you have to remove it from how we would see that through today's lens, and so we kind of, I don't know, not giving it a pass, but we just kind of understand that it's saying it was a different time actually does mean something.
Yeah,
in this instance.
In his career, it really does.
Yeah. And the stuff with the serial killers, it's just okay, I think he has since gone on to address the Manson family and his kind of mild obsession with them, and especially in the very early movies. I think it's kind of gone after Pink Flamingos. But I don't know what he had to say about the one that just got released.
Oh, Van Houten?
Yeah, Leslie Van Houten just got released.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know if he ever spoke on it.
He's had to have.
Yeah. Because I feel like he kind of wrote on her behalf. Or I think he knows her.
Probably did some sort of a parole testimony or something.
Yeah.
I mean, he went to all these trials back in the day.
Yeah. So it's just it's a conversation that we're not really gonna kind of go that deep into. Just understand that we understand that it can be triggering these final scenes in the movie, throwing out names of serial killers and doing these kind of crazy things, you know, with the audience. But it's all for a point and for a purpose, and Dawn does kind of get
fucked.
I mean,
everybody turns against her.
She quite literally gets fried.
Yeah,
and like
everybody
I said,
turns against her.
These movies, Pink Flamingos and Female Trouble, do have moral centers behind them. That evil is punished at the end.
Well, does anything happen to the Dashers?
Well, it's true.
See, that's the thing.
That's
They
true.
get away with
Are the
They get
Dashers
away with
are
it.
the Dashers the true villain?
I think
of Female
they
Trouble?
are. I think they are. I think they I think without the Dashers, Dawn's life she still would be a horrible person. Like she was still a bad mother before she met the Dashers. But I don't know that she would have gone to do the lengths. She wouldn't have kidnapped Aunt Ida, because she was even kind of appalled at that. She was like, "What is she doing here?"
It's true.
Like,
In my house?
yeah.
Almost any time somebody offers me chicken, I just look at them and go, do I look Italian? 9 times out of 10, most people don't know what I'm talking about, but it's...
I'll have 2 chicken breasts, please. We're not having that.
chicken. Also, the funny thing that I love about that is both of them decline eating, but she still won't give
Doesn't
the
have
food to
enough food.
Taffy. There isn't enough for you.
But she said she was going to... I'll have an extremely large glass of ice water.
There's a scene later in the movie that always kills me. It's when Divine is doing the outdoor stunt where she's swimming across the river and drag.
Oh, yeah.
In the sleet and rain, and Divine hits the mark.
Yep.
Did it on one take.
It was all real.
Yep.
That water was probably fucking
But like,
freezing,
could you imagine?
too.
Just
Yeah.
like, we're going to shoot this scene, Divine, get in the water.
And come out right
January.
there.
Well, so many of the movies, you can see their breath in the air because it was so cold.
We're framing the shot, and you have to end up right there on the other side of the bank.
Hey, she did it. She's
Yep.
a
Pro.
Okay, so when she does get arrested, she's completely like cracked at this point.
Yep.
Like all the scenes, it's one long scene. I was gonna say all the scenes with her and the inmates, but it's John, so it's one long scene that people are coming in and out of. And her like prison girlfriend, and the prison girlfriend's just like, it's her last day. God damn it! Like, let me just be in here with her. But Dawn is still just like, it's fine. Like, go. She's gone. She's completely lost it.
It's like Nancy Downs in The Craft. Like she's just, I think I'm a star. I'm a star.
Yeah. I
maybe a
can
little
still
Pearl.
feel him in me.
I'm trying to remember. There's something about who the girlfriend is. I can't remember who the actress is.
Oh, okay.
But she's definitely, or maybe it's Pat Moran or something like that.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I feel like that sounds right.
For those of you who don't know, Pat Moran was the casting director for all these
She's found all of these kooky characters.
Yeah. The 2 prison guards.
Yeah.
What did she say? Like, no bumping donuts?
No bumping. Oh, God.
Bumping pussies.
Bumping pussies,
pussies,
yeah. Just a favorite term I
No
love to
bumping
use.
pussy.
You know the rules. No bumping
Just
pussies.
Those 2 prison guards have the most Baltimore accents.
Just
They're
when this
crazy.
I mean, this is the women's prison movie.
Yeah,
section.
it becomes a women in prison movie for the last scene. So, I mean, do you have any final thoughts on Female Trouble and just kind of the John Waters catalog before we have to say goodbye?
I mean, it's the end all be all. It's a tradition to watch this around Christmas time. Even though Christmas is only a part of the movie for a good 4 minutes in the beginning. But, it's just a masterpiece of art, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I'm honored that I got to speak on this one. I've done one other podcast about John Waters, and it was Desperate Living, but I could talk all day about this.
I hope that this new movie happens with Aubrey Plaza.
That's still just a rumor.
Yeah.
The Aubrey Plaza casting, I'm not sure. But yeah, between, is it Fruitcake or they're going to make a film of Liar Mouth?
I think it's Liar Mouth.
Yeah, that's the one I've heard more about, which I personally think that nobody should be playing that character more than Parker Posey. But
okay.
But Aubrey's I love her.
Sure. Well, I mean, it was a joy to have you on talking about John's magnum opus.
Yes.
This was a ton of fun. And, I mean, of course, you have an open invitation to come back. There's still a ton of John to talk about, or a ton of other movies
yeah.
besides John Waters.
2024.
I mean, we still haven't even gotten to Crybaby.
Yeah.
Desperate Living we've talked about in this episode that we love. But yeah, there's still plenty more.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and this was a pleasure. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, whatever you celebrate. And we're not gonna see you at work tonight at the bar. But,
I gotta go take off my shirt and start slinging beers around.
Hey, we love it.
We do.
We love where you work.
John Waters loves a leather bar.
Absolutely. Any version of the evil.
Yeah,
we're here for. But we'll see you soon. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
See you later, mate.
Bye.
And thanks for listening, everybody.
Pete, would you say Female Trouble is your favorite John Waters movie?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
I was trying to think of this myself, and I think it's hard because I have his IMDb out right in front of me, and I'm kind of trying to think of an answer myself, and I'm coming to the conclusion that, I mean, there's something about all of his movies that are very special for me. I mean, when you look at something like Pink Flamingos, clearly it's the icon of Divine in that drag, just because it's so, I mean, it's just ingrained in pop culture of just when you think of drag queen. But like we mentioned before, it's just like Female Trouble clearly is his opus.
Yeah.
Like, it's just kind of his signature movie. So I like that one. Desperate Living, I will say, maybe his underrated movie.
Sure.
It's the movie that people usually don't talk about as much just because Divine's not in it.
Right.
But when you watch Desperate Living, it's just like that movie is so crazy. But what I like about that is I think that they just give Edith a lot to work with in that movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, she gets to play this crazy character and she's like royalty. So it's just like, how much fun would that have been for her to make?
Right.
Of just kind of the type that she had not really played in a John Waters movie. We had just talked about like Polyester on the show. Polyester is also super underrated. Divine is really good in it. I mean, Hairspray. You grew up on Hairspray. I didn't as much. I didn't grow up on Hairspray or Crybaby I didn't really watch them at all growing up. Those two are really good.
I love those two so much.
Yeah, we need to get to Crybaby.
Crybaby's great.
Kathleen Turner's so good.
Great as a
Serial
musical.
Mom. Okay, I think that I do have an affection for both Cecil B. Demented and Pecker, just because those were kind of my intro to John Waters when I was young.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, they all kind of work as a different genre almost. So, yeah, it's a tough call.
Yeah, it's a tough call. It's just like there's something interesting about all of his movies. Cecil B. Demented, A Dirty Shame. I mean, we hadn't watched A Dirty Shame until like a few years ago.
No, I mean, I had seen it.
Oh, you had seen it before? Yeah, but I hadn't seen it.
No, I saw it when
though.
it first came out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's his last like feature movie. It was A Dirty Shame in 2004. I mean, A Dirty Shame 2, I mean, it's kind of, when you talk about controversy with John Waters, I remember when A Dirty Shame came out and what a huge deal that was.
Yeah.
Like his back and forth with the MPAA, that not a lot of movies were given an NC-17, and that movie definitely got one in 2004.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, but it's maybe not one of my favorites. But I like his stuff from the 90s onward, and I do love Cecil B. Demented. I think it's great, and I think it is definitely one of the ones that is kind of underappreciated by the general
Pecker is a
public.
good character
And
piece
Pecker's
too.
so fun.
Pecker's so good.
Martha Plimpton. Great.
Okay, so when you briefly, do you remember? I mean, of course you remember it. But when you worked at the laundromat, I always thought of Christina Ricci yelling at customers of when I would go visit you at the laundromat.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was those were the lean years. Those were definitely.
But yeah,
the lean
but
years.
I always just thought of that character when you had that job. Of that, like, it's just such a John Waters job of just running a laundromat.
Yeah. I don't know. I do love Pecker because I remember specifically when that came out and the DVD was kind of early days of DVDs. That was a great one. Yeah, I don't think I have a favorite.
There's something special about them all.
Absolutely. So thanks, everyone, for sticking with us on this female troubled John Waters journey for this episode.
We finally got to it.
More. Yeah, we finally got to it. I feel like it's been a long time. I say this about half these movies, but it has been a long time coming. Let's see. What am I thinking of? Crybaby. And the woman who plays Crybaby's mother is Susan Tyrrell.
Oh,
And
Susan Tyrrell.
Susan
Sure.
Tyrrell is
Yeah.
just that kind of
Cult film favorite.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just the way these movies are cast. It's very specific, and all these people are in these movies for Joe D'Alessandro is in Crybaby. You know, they Troy Donahue, like they pick these people that are just unexpected to play these kind of bit roles or whatever, and it's just genius.
Yeah.
Brush up on John Waters if you're not familiar. People, do yourself a favor. But I think it's just about that time in the episode
For Patreon shout-outs?
No Patreon shout-outs.
Let's hear 'em.
That was super loud. Got a lot of patrons, got a lot of new patrons. Let's say hello and great big thanks to all of our patrons, including the folks over at How Do You Drew, our friend Andy, Kate, let's see, Pep Speed, Jay Michael, Jason, Haley, Tammy, Roberto, I think that's Muffy, Brett, Daisy, Jason, Patrick, Kelly, Chrissy, Steven, Jake, Desiree, Will, Adam, Chris, Andrew, Laura, Garrett, Thomas, Dan, another Dan, Tiffany, Frankfurter, let's see, Cerulean Crayon, Lori, Brenna, Jessa Rabbit, Lawrence, Danielle, Lisa, Alexis, Thomas, Mark, Flemish Giant, Jackson, Millie, Darcy, Ted, Benny, Jermel, Melanie, Christopher, Ross, no, not Ross, Russ. Let's see, Seth. Oh my God, we've got more. Oh, this is too many. This is paid members. I think I got everybody. I got to do active. Let's start over again.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and say a great big hello and thank you to all of our patrons, including the folks over at How Do You Drew, our friend Andy, Kate, Pep Speed, Tammy, Roberto, I believe that's our friend Muffy, Brett, Daisy, Kelly, Chrissy, Stephen, Jake, Desiree, Laura, Garrett, Thomas, Lori, Brenna, Jessa Rabbit, Lawrence, Lisa, Alexis, Thomas, Millie, Ted, Benny, Jermel, Melanie, Susan, JJ, Shelby, Paul, Jamie, Drew, Dawn, Joshua, Emma, Millie, Aaron, Nick and Shannon, Christine, and finally Rufino. You guys,
thank you for being a friend.
Thank you for being patrons.
Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. All of your donations go directly to keeping the show on the air every week, every Friday, for free and ad-free. Yeah, that's all thanks to the patrons and listeners like you.
You get some fun stuff on the Patreon. You get our television that made us gay. We do a TV episode a month on the Patreon. Mm-hmm. And at the $10 level, you will get the Watch With Us commentary.
Yes, there is got to be about 35 Watch With Us commentaries right now. They're bonus episodes. Commentary tracks for the movies. We watch the movie and record a commentary track as the movie is playing. And so we give you instructions on how to sync up the track, the audio track, with the movie if you have it or if you can stream it. We give you instructions on how to sync it up so you can listen to our commentary as the movie is playing before your eyes. It's very fun to do it that way. Or you can just listen to the episode the old-fashioned way, like a bonus episode. It works just as fun. So check that out over at patreon.com/movies that made us gay. You can also follow the show on any podcast streaming application that you choose. We are on Apple and Spotify. Those are the easiest ways to find us, and you can give us 5-star ratings.
Rate, subscribe, and write us a kind review. We would love that.
If you have an iPhone, Apple Podcasts is already pre-installed. Or if you're on Spotify, those are the two where you can give us 5 stars. And on Apple Podcasts, you can write a review, and we'll read it on an upcoming episode. Thank you so much if you've already done that, and thank you in advance if you're about to do it. It's easy, it's free, it takes about no time at all, and it really helps us out. Follow us on the socials. We're at Movies That Made Us Gay on Instagram. We're also at MTMUG Pod on, X, Threads, Blue Sky, all that fun stuff. But we're most active on Instagram. So go ahead and give us a follow there.
You can also go ahead and follow our personal accounts. I'm Scott Youngballer on Instagram, and follow my letterbox.
Yes, indeed. I am at Peter Lasagna on Instagram and Threads and X. So give us a shout out. Until next week, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Oh, next week is the Christmas. It's our big Christmas episode.
Uh-oh.
I mean, we've had like 3 Christmas episodes in a row, but next week is like the Christmas week episode.
All righty. Get
We're
ready,
talking
everybody.
about a fun movie too.
Cool. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.
Nice girls don't wear cha-cha heels.